Everybody's different.
We come from different places. And we all want different things. I want to grow my career.
I want to make a difference.
I want my research to have an impact. But we all have one thing in common.
We want to be somewhere we can fulfill our ambition. Not just a graduate business school, but a global community full of people who want to go further.
Push harder. Achieve more.
Do things differently.
With the faculty producing cutting-edge research that's making a difference.
Changing how we think.
A community that's making its mark on Ireland and the world.
At Ireland's highly ranked and triple accredited business school, offering internationally recognised MBA and Business Masters programmes. Distinctively located in Dublin, one of the friendliest, most exciting cities in the world. And home to the world's leading companies. A local campus with a global network of alumni, where students connect with industry leaders and each other.
Where faculty address the biggest problems of today, creating real solutions for the real world. We'll all end up with different careers.
In different places.
Making an impact in business and society.
We're all different.
But we'll always have one thing in common.
UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School. Creating a better future.
And hello, welcome everybody to this session. And as you already heard in the introduction video, maybe that can be you in the next year to study in Dublin and accelerating your leadership career with UCD Smurfit School. That is what we're going to talk about in the next 40 minutes or so. My name is Luc Mulling, and I'm here to moderate the session. And I will briefly explain to all of you already some of the interaction options we have before we go over to the presenters who are all lined up to talk to you. First of all, you can say maybe where you're logging in from through the chat. So we have a chat open at the right bottom. Just for us to know a little bit on the audience of you, where you're logging in from. Throughout the session, I will also be opening up some polling questions to get some more feedback and to know you better. I already opened up one actually. I see people have already started to respond, so that's great. So keep an eye out on those polls as well throughout the session. Also important is that you can ask questions at any time. So at the right bottom, the panel called questions, that's where you can write your questions at any time. Please do it in that panel because we also have a staff member of UCD joining in to already answer some personal questions possibly that you might have. But also I will actually go over some general questions for everyone later on in the session. And last but not least, we also have a little fun button. I saw already some of you found it in the beginning. So we have a button at the bottom called React. If you click on that, you can give us your feedback. Yeah, that's the one. So if you like something, you can let us know, just to make it a little bit more fun and interactive. Also for the presenters especially, because that's nice for them to see that you're paying attention and you're still there. So without further ado, let's go over to these presenters. I'm going to introduce you to Jola Maar, who will be introducing herself, and she will take it away from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Look, hello, everyone. How are you today? Lovely to see all the thumbs up. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all at today's session. My name is Yola, and in my role here in the Smurfit School, I look after all international students, which is at this stage majority. It's a very, very global campus We have over around or over 1,000 students who come to us from overseas, from all over the world. The nationalities we have here on campus, there's, I presume, I think 50 to 60 at this stage. So it's very, very global campus. So in my role, I look after students who come to us and who relocate to Ireland, and I support you guys in your journey. So from the moment you inquire about the program, if you have any questions about moving to Dublin, moving to Ireland, I'm here to support you. I'm here to answer your questions. We'll talk about it later, and I'll tell you all about how I support the students. So it's my great pleasure to see you all here. All the thumbs up. Thank you so much. And I'm going to hand over to one of the lovely students who's joined us here to tell you all about her experience. Over to you, Tri. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Yola. Hello, everyone. I'm Yin Xu from Wuxi, China. You can call me Tri. I'm currently in Smurfit School in Management Consultancy program. I'm really honored to be able to share my experience with you later today. And I've spent last 9 years working in the education industry as an event planner, a community manager, student experience director, as well as on my side company as investor and VP in the travel and the hotel industry. So that's about me. Probably later you will know more about me later. And welcome our Toby. Thank you.
Hello, thank you so much. Hello from my side as well. My name is Toby.
Hi, I'm Tim.
And we're both currently doing our graduate program in sustainable supply chain management. I'm 21 years old, Tim is 24 years old, and we are living in Dublin for the past 3 months. And we are working towards getting our degree at sustainable supply chain management, as we said. Thank you so much. And we're going to hand it over to Claire.
Hiya, I'm Claire. I'm from Tennessee. I've been living in Dublin for the past 4 years. I did my undergrad in commerce at UCD Belfield, and then I switched on over to the Smurfit campus to do my master's in digital marketing. So thank you everyone for attending today's session, and I'll pass it on.
Hi guys, I'm Richard Murphy and I'm the Senior Admissions Manager here in UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School. I want to say thanks to the rest of my panelists to be joining me today, and I'm going to kick on now with the presentation. So this is a brief title, Accelerate Your Leadership Career at UCD Smurfit School, but just to give you a quick rundown of how today is going to go, you can see that I'm going to give a brief presentation basically on Smurfit and Ireland. It's a great place to be, as I'm sure everyone else would agree. Yola then after me is going to give a few slides on relocating and moving to Dublin, and some tips and advice around that. And then we'll probably go into one of the more interesting parts, I think, which is actually talking to the students who are currently here, because as good as it is to hear things from me or from Yola, it's always really more important to hear from the students who are currently doing the program that you potentially are looking at studying. So we'll give some good amount of time to actually have a chat with the 4 students that we have on today, and then we'll follow it up at the very end with a live Q&A session where we would encourage you, as Luke has already mentioned, to put your questions into the questions box. And as I put a little slide here, please prepare your questions all the way throughout. So put them into the Q&A or to the chat. And we actually have 2 members of our team as well here behind the scenes who'd be happy to answer as they go as well. So without further ado, let's kick on. I'm hoping that some of you might already know a little bit about UCD as the university and also Smurfit, but just to give you a quick overview, we are one of the top 1% of universities worldwide, and we in the business school, the Smurfit Business School, have what's known as the Triple Crown accreditation, which is by the 3 main accrediting bodies in America and across the world and Europe, which is the AACCSB, AMBA, and EQUIS. And what this means is that you get internationally recognized programs. So again, it's not about coming to study in Europe and having a program or only working in Europe. This is worldwide. And as a little note there, we're also Ireland's top-ranked business school. So there's nowhere better to study business in Ireland, and I would dare say Europe, than here in Smurfit. But again, that's for you hopefully to find out. So on the rankings, when it comes to business schools, we tend to use these three main rankings, but particularly Financial Times and The Economist. We also probably use, as you can see, QS, and there's also many other ranking systems, but Financial Times and Economist are probably two of the most important ones when it comes to business schools, and we are consistently in the top 50 rankings. For example, look at our SEMS International Management Program, which has always been in the top 20 Masters in Management programs globally. We also have supply chain as a sustainable supply chain, I beg your pardon, as Tim and Toby are currently doing, it's ranked 13th. Business analytics, marketing, finance, and management, and many other programs are also all ranked in the top 40. So individual programs get ranked individually, but as a school, we generally are seen as a top 50 school. So it's a very prestigious school. And I suppose I want to show you briefly where we are as well, because it depends on where in the world you're coming from, but you might not be too familiar with Ireland's geography. So on the right-hand side, you can see a sort of an overview of Ireland. And on the very right-hand side, you see Dublin. And Dublin is the capital of Ireland. And the colour map gives you an idea of the size of UCD. So UCD is Ireland's largest university, both in the size of campus, but also student base. We have 35,000 students in UCD. And this red patch that you can see here is what's known as Dublin City Centre. So this is predominantly where the main city is. And anything outside of that big yellow ring road you see is probably more seen as outside of Dublin. But look at the size of the UCD main campus, which is the blue patch that you see. When you compare that to Dublin City Centre, it's a very, very large campus, which is only around 20 minutes away from the main city centre. So it's very localised, but it's great because it also means that you're in a very nice area of Dublin, a very safe area, as all of Ireland is. Where UCD Smurfit is, we have our own dedicated campus. So as a postgraduate business school student only, you have your own campus here in this Smurfit campus, which, if you can see it, it's a bit small for me, but it's that little yellow patch down there, which isn't actually that little at all. It's actually quite a large campus. And you can see how close we are to our main campus as well, only about 8 minutes away. We've also got things like shuttle buses now that bring students up and back. So as a UCD Smurfit student, you have access to everything on our main UCD campus as well. So here are some quick shots of our specific Smurfit campus. And you can see it's a beautiful historic building that's been restored and a lot of money pumped into it over the last few years, bringing in big lecture halls, small breakout rooms, and plenty of student services as well. So I think most of the students would probably agree, and certainly it's been my favorite place to work. It's been an absolutely beautiful campus throughout, whether it's raining outside, which doesn't happen very often in Ireland, actually. It's a myth. It's actually sunny. It's currently sunny as well. So it's a beautiful campus, particularly in autumn where we are now. So I think when you consider what business school you might choose to go to do your program, you can't separate it from the country that it's in. And I think one of our key points about why lots of students want to come to study in Ireland is our economy. So as you can see from the title here, we're Europe's fastest growing economy for 5 years in a row. And some of the key points here, there's even with the recent worldwide slowdowns and things like this, we still have a very positive outlook in the Irish economy. So this year, GDP growth is predicted at 5.5%. Last year, 7.5%. The year before, phenomenal growth of 16.1%, which is pretty much record breaking. And at the time, we were the only EU country with growth during the pandemic, the worst of the pandemic. So generally speaking, it's 3 times higher growth rate than the EU average. And I think currently that's bang on. We're about, as I say, about 5.5%. The EU average is about 1.7%. Also, we've seen record unemployment, low unemployment, I should say, record low unemployment, to reiterate that, this year, where we had a record low of 3.8%, which for Ireland is effectively full employment. And what does this mean? It basically means that we need people to come to Ireland to fill our jobs. And these are jobs not in sort of low-level service jobs. These are big multinational companies that are set up here, which is what my next slide really is about. So I'm sure many of you have heard this expression, the Silicon Valley of Europe, and even with notwithstanding the more recent sort of tech resizing, we still have seen a surplus plus of jobs in the tech sector across Ireland of 35,000 jobs this year alone. So it's still a very, very lucrative and successful part of what Ireland is. And you see a note I have there, just Dublin is home to the European headquarters of all the major US tech and consulting companies. But a lot of people think tech is just kind of like social media, you know, your TikToks, your Meta. Well, tech, one of the big areas of tech that Ireland is strongly advantageous in is medtech as well. And we have a lot of medtech companies, and on that note, pharmaceutical and biopharma companies as well. So consulting would be a massive part, but so would all these others. And you can see there that Pfizer have continued to invest in Ireland with a big funding round just recently announced this year. So what does this mean? So I've put up this thing here. I'm sure many of you have heard of this before, where you've heard an expression called the 6 degrees of separation. And that would be, say, for example, I am related to you, whoever it is that's watching this right now, by 6 different people. And I think actually LinkedIn sometimes is actually quite a good thing to sort of see this in practice. So if you want to find someone, you want to get to know someone, you can probably talk to a friend who might know someone who might know the CEO in that company, etc. Well, in Ireland, it's called the 2 degrees of separation. Because of our population is actually quite small. We're only around about 5 million, and Dublin has about 1.5 million. As a capital city, it's very, very small. So the good news with that is that you tend to get to know people very easily. So that's kind of an Irish thing. But then within Smurfit as well, we go above and beyond with our connections and networks. So just for example, our former professor there, Martin Shanahan, he welcomed the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, on the left-hand side to Dublin quite recently. And, you know, it's all this kind of contacts with industry, and the fact that our professors aren't just academic professors, they're also working with industry as well. That, and combined with our active alumni network, where we have I think it's about 107,000 we're currently up to, business alumni around the globe. And that's a key point to anyone watching today, because I've seen everyone put in where they're from. It's not just Ireland, it's not just Europe, it's around the world. So you have this amazing active alumni network that you can lean on. And that is what helps you get these networking opportunities around the world. And again, a quick note on some of our top employers. This is just a tiny sample of where our students go to work for. So you can see there's tech, there's consulting, there's pharmaceutical, all those kind of companies that I mentioned. But this is just a tiny example. Again, if you go onto LinkedIn, really good tool to sort of see where you might end up working depending on which course you study. And one of the main reasons why I think a lot of our students have such success is because we have this dedicated careers team in Smurfit alone. So we have 4 specialized careers managers and other support staff as well, whose sole job it is to focus on you as a Smurfit student to get a successful career, not just successful, but an excellent career. So, for example, we have several, I think it's 3 Smurfit career events that happen here on the Smurfit campus. But as a student of UCD, you also have access to several that happen on the main campus as well. And that photograph there on the right-hand side is for our really massive, quite amazing hall called the O'Reilly Hall, which is where a lot of student events take place on our main campus. And there's these huge recruitment fairs because everyone knows that Smurfit and UCD are the best, make the best students. And that's why they come looking for you rather than you having to go out necessarily to look for them. So again, it's that kind of prestige and reputation, I suppose, which really helps you in starting your career at a high level. And what does that mean? That means, as you can see here, UCD has been the #1 for graduate employability the last 5 years in a row. And Smurfit average employment rate, and this is based on, that was based on the QS, but the Smurfit average employment rate is 96%. So this is, again, as business schools go, this is phenomenally high. Each course will have slightly differences, but generally speaking, 96%. And it's a factor that we're very, very proud of. And part of the reason why our students, I suppose, are so employable is because of this kind of key things here, which is that we try to develop skills that employers want. So when I mentioned that a lot of our lecturers and professors are involved with industry. So we don't just design a course and sort of throw it out there for the world to hopefully look at it. We engage with industry. We look into what's coming down the line. We look at the future topics that are going to be important to you. We talk to the companies and say, well, look, how many kind of jobs do you think are going to be in this zone? And what we do is we adapt our courses and how the careers team work with you. So I think that's one of the key things that we try to do. But also we look at appreciation different cultures. As Yola Leola mentioned, and as everyone can see here, basically in front of us today, there's a lot of international cultures that come to Smurfit. So we have about 70 different nationalities, and as Leola mentioned, it's about 60% are international and 40% are domestic Irish students. And it's really, really lovely sort of blend then of you get a real Irish experience, but you also have making these networks and friends for life around the world. And I think here as well, we learn critically. And I think that's another thing as well. So you're not going to be spoon-fed in a very academic, traditional academic environment. We treat you like adults, and we expect that you can research and go out to companies and sort of work with them and solve problems outside of the box. And basically, this develops leadership as well. And I'll just talk about a little thing on that now. Next slide. This is part of the Smurfit difference. When we talk about leadership, we really do mean it. It's something that I, as a missions manager, will look for students that are coming to us. I look for leadership examples. But this is something that you can take as part of your master's here. So it is designed to run concurrent with your master's, whichever master's you choose. This is called the Global Leadership Program, and it's something that was taken from our MBA program and brought down to be across all of our master's programs. And as you can see, there's 3 columns: leadership, workplace skills, and career planning. And the idea is that within those, you have different activities and different kind of mentorships. You do leadership roles. Active citizenship means volunteering. There's careers coaching as well. So these kind of things are separate to your master's. So again, you also get a qualification in this. You get something, a LinkedIn badge you put on your CV, and employers love this. But more than just employers looking at this and going, wow, that looks good, your personal development, your own personal development is really brought through, and your own leadership skills. And this is what we try to do in Smurfit. And it's one of the key differences between us and other business schools is that we are really trying to push the leadership, the growth and the personal growth onto you guys so that you can continue that in your career afterwards. Here is a little overview chart, which is possibly too small depending on your screen to read, but it's kind of highlighting everything I just mentioned there. Things like employability rate 96, there's a starting salary of 1 in 10 of over 80,000. We have, it needs to be updated a little bit from last year, about 107,000. So it's a really kind of interesting, just one slide to show some unique selling points for our school, why our results are so strong. I do want to talk quickly on sustainability because it is a topic that obviously is so important in the world, but also to us in UCD. We do look at this very seriously, and as part of that, we have 2 dedicated courses here in Smurfit that look at this particular topic and certainly cover a lot of it in it. Our first program is the MSc Sustainable Finance. So again, if you're thinking of a finance program, this is definitely one that I would recommend to look at. And then Tim and Toby are doing this particular one here, Sustainable Supply Chain Management. So again, I'm sure you can talk to the guys about this in a few minutes and learn more about it if you want. But it's a fantastic program. In fact, we were just outside in the hall and I saw Toby and Tim, and they're doing posters, and it's a really great atmosphere, and seeing the hard work that these guys are doing and the innovative thinking that they're coming up with regards to sustainability. I think it's phenomenal achievements just to see the quality of the work there outside in the main hall just over lunch. Smurfit as well then have a big part of this as part of their strategy, and we have green campus initiatives, we have biodiversity, waste reductions, commuting policies, energy efficiencies. All these kind of things are built into what we try to do, both from a staff and student point of view. But one of the key points really is that we've got a new vice president for sustainability, and this I think really echoes the commitment by the senior management team in UCD to bring sustainability forward and to bring UCD forward. So the VP will be overseeing everything from regards to curriculum to the activities that we do and the community involvement with sustainability. And just a quick note, we also have the UCD Earth Institute and many other sort of subgroups as well. So it's a very active area for UCD. We also have lots of leading researchers in things like fashion, supply chains, greenwashes, and things like that. And what does that mean? That basically means that we're in the top 25 for sustainability. So UCD got the gold tier from the QS rankings last year and was ranked 22nd in Times Higher Education for the impact ranking as well. So again, 2 accolades we're proud of, but there's a lot more work to do. And we believe that it's important that our students are empowered in this area and can help UCD grow further. So going on to our programs, I think it's important to note today, and particularly today actually, because I've just found out that today's actually International STEM Day. So if you're coming from a non-business background such as STEM, we absolutely welcome you. In fact, you can see there STEM, social sciences, medicine, more. About 60% of our students come from non-business backgrounds. And so it is designed, any of our programs, most of our programs are designed to take students from completely different backgrounds and to train you up and have a focus, as I mentioned already, on the leadership development. So you could still, for example, if you came from a manufacturing backgrounds, you know, you wanted to do supply chain, what we try to do there is that you probably will still end up working within the manufacturing industry, but just within a leadership role within those companies as well. So you're not forgetting what you learned, but you're kind of adding to it. I don't want to list off all the master's programs that we have here because there's so many of them. There's about 26 different master's programs, and they kind of grow and change each year as well. But as you can see, we include things in management, data, innovation, finance, marketing, and as I say, many others. There's a link there, smurfitschool.ie/programs, which will bring you directly to the list of all the masters that we have. And I do encourage you in your own time to have a quick look into those programs. Just a quick note, I suppose, on maybe what's popular with some international students. I think Toby and Tim might know Rebecca, who is from Germany, and she's actually doing HR. But some of the other programs that we have here are, for example, business analytics would be a very popular one, digital marketing, strategic management consultancy, because consulting is a very strong industry within Ireland, as I mentioned, sustainable supply chain management, and many of our finance programs. I think actually it's just cut off at the bottom of there, but there's also some part-time programs that you can take remotely online, which is our management online and our project management online. And they're two important key things to say to any international students that may not be able to want to come all the way over to Ireland to study, depending where in the world you are. There's two programs that you could potentially look at doing remotely. So one of my last slides here before I hand over, just a lot of our students ask, well, what are some of the, I ask the students, what are some of the key differences that you see when you want to come to Ireland to study? I've kind of touched on some of these already, but as I mentioned, practical teaching environment. And I think that is one of the key things that we pride ourselves on in Smurfit and Ireland in general, but it's definitely in Smurfit, which is that we don't ask you, for example, to do theses at the end. You can do an internship. You can do a research project with a real company. You know, all throughout your modules, you are working with companies. You know, you're dealing on, you know, case studies. And so it's not like you have an exam. And of course, there are some, but we try to focus much more on case studies and practical work and practical teaching and break out into groups and group work. 1 year masters, and that's a key point to mention as well. So again, depending on where in the world you're coming from, a lot of our masters around the world are 2-year-long masters, but ours are designed as 1 year long, September to September, and that's a key advantage, I think, to a lot of reasons why a lot of students want to come to study with us. I already mentioned this really, but the industry involvement, the internships, the research projects and field trips, so all of that kind of network and engagement that I already mentioned. And fees, yes, there are fees for sure, and it could be a considerable investment for some, depending where you're coming from. But on average, our fees are 72% lower than the other top 50 business schools. So it's just, again, something to think about. And we also do have scholarships, although I would say, and I do have to stress this, our scholarships are very competitive. So I would never rely on getting a scholarship to try to study here. But just to mention that there are a decent number. In fact, I think at the last count we had about 60 different scholarships, and within that, a number within each one to give out. So we do give out a lot of scholarships, but try to do your sums and your maths for living and studying here. So that's really the end of my slides. As I say, keep getting your questions ready. I'm noticing a lot of them are coming in the Q&A box and the chat box. So just to say, that is our website, smurfitschool.ie. And the main admissions is smurfit.admissions@ucd.ie. That's the email. So if you send an email to that, you should get a response. Now, it can be busy, so do expect maybe sometimes a day or two wait, but we will get back to you. So I don't want to take up all this session, so I'm going to pass you over to my wonderful colleague, Yola, who, as she mentioned already, looks after our international students, and she's going to give you some tips and advice.
Thank you so much, Richard, and welcome again, everyone. I could see in the chat there's loads of you coming from all over the world. I counted 15 different countries across Asia, Europe, the Americas as well. So you're all very welcome. Really, really delighted to have you here and to talk to you about the experience of studying here in Dublin. So just very briefly, the student support here in the UCD Michael Smurfit Business School is quite broad. We basically start looking after our students before they become students. So as I mentioned to you before, if you have any questions about coming to Dublin, the more questions you asked, the more you will know, the better prepared you will be, and the more confident you will be about making your decision, because moving to Ireland is a huge decision. And it has to be researched very well, and you have to be sure that what you're doing is right for you. So we're here to help you to make that decision. I echo what Richard has said before. We're here to support you and to help you. So looking at the support that we provide to students, we have 5 UCD global centers pretty much all over the world. So second here. So basically our UCD staff who support students during the recruitment time are based in different parts of the world. So you have a local office in a lot of countries and a lot of regions. On top of it, the local support, so the support here in Smurfit in Dublin, there's multiple layers of it, but the 2 support colleagues I'd like to talk about is a student advisor who is here to help students ensure that their experience is smooth. And if they're going through any hard time and a transition, we're here to help you with tools and to talk to you as a student cohort. And the other support structure is myself. And as I mentioned before, I'm here to inform the students, to talk to them. And once you guys arrive, also to ensure that everybody integrates really well. I run events. Here on campus, we're actually having Diwali later this week on Friday, because it's Diwali Day in India on Sunday, this coming Sunday. So it'll be a big celebration. People will be dressed up. It'll be wonderful. Maybe if you check our Instagram page, you should be able to see some photos from this Friday's event. And just to tell you over the summer months, so if you once you decide that you want to come and study here in Ireland, in Dublin, we will look after you during the summer quite well by having a lot of different channels of communication. So on top of or besides kind of a quite standard ways of information on the incoming students portal and emails, we will also have webinars. I've listed here, I said 7 webinars over the summer months. We had 7 last year. We might actually do 8 or 9 this coming year. These webinars are recorded. So if you happen to miss it, or if you would like the information to kind of watch it again and take it down, you can do that as well. We'll have weekly drop-in clinics, and that starts in May and finish in July. So every week we are there, the colleagues from admissions and ourselves here from the program support, student support. We're there, and you can pop in any day meaning any week, and ask questions, and you can pop in as often as you want. I have also put together a very comprehensive, I can see some thumbs up, thank you so much. And I've put together a very, very comprehensive and informative international students handbook. It's got 65 pages, and it's a one-stop stop in terms of information about relocation to Ireland. So there's tons of links, videos. It's really, really informative. So if you kind of may be wondering about relocating to Ireland and how you're going to travel that journey, metaphorically speaking, because it's a journey of researching, finding out, preparing, we're here to support you. Okay, and there's one more thing I'd like to mention to you, which is a 2-year stay-back visa. So this official name is third level graduate program, and it's basically a working rights permission for students who are coming to us from outside the EU and who would normally typically require a work permit to work in Ireland. But if you complete our master's program here in the Smurfit School, you are entitled to apply for the third level graduate program, the stay back visa, which is a 24-month permission for you to work in Ireland. It's like a bridging program between being a student and getting a work permit that is sponsored by a company. So it allows you to basically look for work in Ireland. You don't need to have a job offer. You basically transition from your student immigration status to the stay back visa status, and you can start looking for jobs. It's quite a relaxed setup where you don't have to have a job. You're given the working rights, and you're given initially 12 months to find a job, and then the visa or the permission is extended for another 12 months. So there's a total of 24 months. A lot of students take advantage of it. A lot of students stay back to kind of look for careers and to look for employment and enhance their career here as well. So that's really what I wanted to mention today. If you have any questions, pop them into the chat. We'll look at them later. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hand over to Richard, who's going to introduce our panel today. Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Yola. And now the fun part, I think the way more interesting bit, right? Let's hear from the students. So to, I suppose, recap, we have Claire from the US. Give a little wave there, Claire. I think people can see you. And Claire is studying our digital marketing program. We have Tobias on the right-hand side and Tim on the left, who are studying our sustainable supply chain management program, both from Germany. And we have Tree, who is management consultancy. I had to double check my notes. Sorry, Tree. And she is from China. So I suppose this stage, what I want to do is maybe just, try to ask some general questions that I think a lot of our students might want to know. And I suppose let's start with some of the big obvious one. Why did you choose UCD? Why Smurfit? So I might start maybe with Claire. Although, Claire, I do know you come from an undergrad program in UCD, but maybe originally, why did you choose UCD?
Well, my answer could also go along with me transferring over to Smurfit from Belfield. So when I originally toured UCD Belfield, there was just like a palpable feeling that you'll get from every staff member when you talk to them, that like they genuinely care about you. And like when I went to other schools, there's kind of a sentiment of, yes, they would answer any question, but then like I felt a bit brushed under the rug. But then when I came to UCD to tour, like there was a palpable, like close feeling of, okay, they care about how I'm getting on. They care about making sure that my transition is over. Like my transition over is like quite enjoyable. And if there's any problems, they would be there to help. And when I went through my undergrad, that was definitely the case. That initial gut feeling was proven true. The people that I was emailing 4 years ago, before I decided to study at UCD, are people that I talk to on a weekly basis now. So yeah, I'd say that feeling of if I needed help, there would be like an open door. That was very present to me during the application process, but it's also tested quite true. So I'd say, you'll get it from this webinar and you'll get it from any emailing, but when you're on campus, it is unbelievable that the staff are always there to help. And there's also built-in resources as well. There's the Career Center, there's the student advisor, there's, your classmates who are going through the same situation as well. There's structures in place to help you when you need it. There's people who are very kind to help you when you need it. And that was something that was important to me. And so I knew that going into my master's, it was kind of something to where I had a bit of imposter syndrome, like, oh, well, I'd be smart enough to do the master's. What if it's too hard? But by having that firm foundation, I was like, okay, I know that I will be set in case anything goes wrong, that I'll have people fighting for me and in my corner to help me along the way. And so, yeah, that has been so great. And that was the main driving force. Also, I really enjoyed living in Dublin, so I wasn't keen to leave.
Yeah.
And I have a million answers, but that was the main focus.
Oh, it's great. It's great to hear. And I have to say that we did not put Claire up to this, okay? These are genuine comments. And it's great to hear that, like, I think it doesn't take much to sort of look across the campus and see the lovely interactions between staff and students, and whether it be academic staff, professional staff, but also what I notice is the really nice interactions that the students have themselves. And I think maybe Tree, I might direct that kind of question at you. You probably win the award of furthest traveled, right? So, I mean, how have you found culturally coming to Ireland and, you know, integrating with the other students?
Actually, I did my research, and I also, like, before I choose Ireland, I have like an Irish colleague. So he introduced like a lot of Irish culture to me. So I noticed like we actually share the same core values. So like my decision to attend Smurfit school is like quite straightforward. Like I always believed in attending the best schools available, like especially in local community, and accept the economy and the big international companies like you have mentioned, right? If the school is regarded as the best locally, it can bring huge benefits, particularly in terms of like acquiring local work experience, and Smurfit in particular. And it has like a career center that provides like tons of workshops and tools to help my career, like especially writing your CV, and like no matter if you're experienced hires or like junior hires, fresh graduates, they have different workshops and tools to help you. And as I mentioned, like the culture is quite similar, even though I think it's quite strange in the whole European, it's a particular culture.
Yeah, that's good. That's interesting to know. Actually, maybe that segues nicely into Tim and Tobias, as Tree just said. The European culture is good, right? But would you say the Irish culture is a bit different from the German culture?
Yeah, there are quite some differences between the German and the Irish culture. For example, when it comes to being open-minded, it really came to my mind when I went here. Everybody was extremely helpful. I nodded the whole time when Claire was talking about being that helpful and being just able to do everything you want and addressing problems, and everybody's going to help you. That is quite different to Germany, where everybody is not that open-minded like here. And I really enjoy it. You get after school, you get to pubs, you get to talk to each other, you really socialize, which is a very big factor that helped me being happier here. And other than that, I personally think that you easily get to know all the other people, and it's in general a nice experience living here.
Also with UCD being like such a huge melting pot of different cultures, I think it's just a great experience. I mean, it's like not only the Irish culture that everyone experiences here, but like a bunch of different cultures, and yeah, that just makes a great mix and a great atmosphere.
Okay. Tobias, I just want to come back to your point there. You mentioned social life, right? Let's be honest. As much as we talk about rankings and things, that's very, very important. I think it's important for anyone looking today is to maybe give an insight into like what the student life is, the student experience, not just within the program. Can you give any insights into that and how you're settling in with regards to that side of things?
Yeah, sure. It is very important to socialize within the first kind of weeks to just get to know the other people. But like I said, it is pretty easy to get to know other people since everybody is really open-minded and you have all the different cultures just meeting, like Tim told us, into this kind of melting pot. The social life in general is very nice. Especially in BlackRock, there is like a small market where there are different restaurants, Indian restaurants, Chinese restaurants, and so on. And this is perfect for getting to know other people outside of the university, since it is one of the most important things to socialize and developing your soft skills. Because hard skills, you can easily implement hard skills in a company, but soft skills, this is really recommended, and you're really learning the hard skills since you're also working in intercultural teams all the time. We in sustainable supply chain management, we have 3 different courses right now, and we're working in different intercultural teams, and we're really improving our soft skills due to this.
It's a great point. I think a lot of business schools can overlook the soft skills and the interpersonal skills. And again, that's one of those things what the global leadership program that I mentioned earlier, like really tries to highlight. It really tries to involve both the community, but also use teams and cultural differences. And it's really an interesting thing. Can I actually ask any of the students here on today? Is anyone doing the global leadership program?
Yeah, we are doing the global leadership program right now.
Do you want to just quickly, hi Trey, I know you put your hand up too. Do you want to just give us one sentence, maybe, how you find that?
I think it is very professional. You're really getting to on how to manage different things, and it's very practical. The linkage between theory and practice is well explained, and everything there is very is going towards this business direction, and it's very nice.
Great. Okay, excellent. Do you know what I might do? I might move to Tree, actually. Tree, can I just ask you a slightly randomly different question, right? What's been your most favorite experience? And I know it's only early, right? You're only here about 2 months, but what's been your favorite experience of either Dublin, Ireland, or UCD itself?
Because before coming here, I did my research. I heard the weather and the food are, I would say, notorious. But actually, the first few months are really nice. The sky is so blue, the weather is so nice, and the trees they have so many trees. It's just beautiful country. And the food, luckily this year, we have Chinese restaurant, the Confucius restaurant. Really authentic Chinese restaurant. Really good. So I think overall it's good. If I could cook myself, that would be even better. But I don't cook, so I just go to the restaurant almost every single day. And for the program itself, I prepared for the master degree. I know it's intensive learning, but because my undergrad is in Chinese university, we never experienced any group work or presentation, this type of work before. I think even for Indian students, as far as I know, group work is a new thing for them. So I was super anxious for the beginning. I don't know how to do it, but the writing center, they have workshops to guide you how to do group work, what's your task, and how do you delegate the task to others. So now I know how to manage it. I think this is definitely new and interesting. Now.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. I love it. And I love the fact that your name here is Tree, and you talked about how you like the trees, right? So that's great. And actually, I did a focus group during the summer with American and other international students, but predominantly American. I asked them, what do you like about Ireland, living in Ireland? And all of them put it nearly as the first reason: the greenness, the trees, the space, the sort of parks, and the countryside and things like that. And I was quite surprised. I was like, what do you mean? The rankings, were they not important? Yes, of course, they're the practical nature, all those other things. But most of them say this, it's a lovely place to be. And I think if anyone saw some of the campus shots that I had at the beginning, you just look outside and you see these 300-year-old, pine trees right outside the window. They're amazing. It's a nice place to be, I think. All right. I suppose I'm aware of time, so maybe I just might hit Claire with one last question. Claire, a lot of people struggle potentially with trying to adapt to a master's, right? Coming from undergrad to a master's. How have you found that? I know we've already sort of talked a little bit about the supports and things that Smurfit offer, but how have you found that sort of transition from undergrad? Because you probably would be the safest piece, right? Because you're coming from UCD, but it'd be interesting to hear potentially of the other side. So you don't have to speak positively here. What have you found different or difficult about starting in your master's or doing your master's?
Well, I'll say this: one person's difficult is another person's easy. So what I find difficult might not be difficult for another person. I would say since it's such an international crowd and everyone's coming from different backgrounds, there's kind of an accepted culture of, okay, we don't know exactly what people's experiences are professionally or educationally. And so while it is quite rigorous in terms of the education you'll receive, there's also an understanding of the differences in your background can benefit you when you come into a group setting. So if someone has more of a work-focused background and they haven't been in school for the past couple of years, or for me, I just came straight from my undergrad, but I didn't do as much experiential, like workplace. I didn't have as much of a background as other people might have. But when it comes time to doing the group work, the way that everyone fits in with each other is you don't have to have a universal like shared background in order to succeed. The differences that you have when you come together as a group definitely benefit you. So I would say when I was adjusting, if I needed help, it's good to voice it. And I'd say everything that I felt like I was struggling with, it was more so exciting to frame it as something that I was having the opportunity to develop. So overall, like it wasn't the hardest, but I guess maybe that's also my perspective of if it is hard, I'm glad I'm not like skating through. This means that I'm actually being tested.
Yeah. Look, I think it's really important to talk about all sides of things as well. And although as much as people who watch you might want to spend an hour listening, I think it's difficult to try to encapsulate both all the good stuff, but also equally some of the more realistic issues that you might face with coming over from another country. And that's why we have a team of student ambassadors who, as of next week, I think should be up on our website. We'll have about 25 different nationalities across 50 different student ambassadors across all of our programs. So you will be able to contact our student ambassadors and they will be able to give you, their honest opinions. And I think that's really important facility to have. So I think on that note, I just want to say thank you so much to Claire, Tim, Toby, and to Tree for giving us some really good insights for the student panel. And at this stage, with probably, I think there's about 10 minutes left, Luke, we might just pass back to Luke to do to shout out some questions that were coming in.
All right, thank you, everyone. And now it's indeed the moment for the audience to let us know your questions. I saw a lot of them already coming in, so we are going to go through them. I will read out or mention a couple just for time purposes. You can see some answers have already been given in the questions tab, so they've been answered verbally. So do by all means check through those to see if your question was already answered maybe. So you'll find there, for example, how you can impact as a potential student at the university, of what type of students succeed most at UCD. That's an interesting question. The answer was given there by the staff of UCD there as well. Some other questions that maybe were interested for you as well to know about scholarships. There's links in the question tabs there as well. And so next question, maybe for more people interesting, is if you're from a country of bilingual, meaning you are your country is in English, do you still need the IELTS exam? Question.
Yeah. I'll take that, obviously. So the senior admissions manager, I'll be able to talk to you about that just really quickly. There is not quite one straight answer, but we do have a link to all of our English language requirements on our website. So do have a look at that. But the quick general answer is that if you've taken your degree in an English language speaking country, such as Ireland, the US, Australia, etc., then you do not need to take an English language test, right? That sounds pretty clear. But the downside for us, because we have such strict English language requirements, being we're the only English-speaking country in the EU, we do have to have high and strong English language requirements. And also because of the group work, as we mentioned, and how we want people to get involved with employers and things like from an early age. So if you're coming from a country where English is not the first spoken language, and for example, I think that question might have come from a gentleman coming from Africa, and there are some African countries that do speak English even as a first language, you would still need to take an IELTS or TOEFL test or one of the other tests. And for most of our courses, the Duolingo test is perfectly okay. And that's possibly the one that I would, just as a side tip, I can't really be seen to advocate one test over the other. But, you know, a lot of our students tell me that it's the cheapest and potentially the easiest test to get the requirements needed. So currently that is there. So I might say to you, look into that option. But the quick answer, if this isn't really a quick answer anymore, is you might need to get onto us just to double check, but there's differences. But generally speaking, you're probably most likely going to have to do an English language test.
Okay. Hope that is clear for everyone. Next question from Yi Ging, if I say that right, about tuition fees. If you has studied in Ireland, is he or she considered an EU applicant when paying tuition?
Okay, so there's residency rules which affect these fee structures, and this isn't set by UCD, it's set by, well, it's across Europe. So what I would say is that you have to be living within Ireland, within the European Union. I think it's for more of the 3 or 4 of the last years, and then there's other things to do with citizenship as well. So it's not quite straightforward as that. So for example, if an Irish student went to live and study in the US, and actually came back that potentially that they could actually have to be liable for a certain amount of fees. So on our website, on the UCD's website, the main UCD is ucd.ie/fees. There's what's called a self-assessment. So they have a few questions, and if you put the answers into those questions, it will tell you if you're eligible for EU fees or non-EU fees. And that's probably because everyone's circumstances will be slightly different. That's what the recommended advice here is. So go to the fees section on our website and you'll be able to get a clear answer.
All right. I saw some thumbs up, so I guess that's answering that. Good. Question from, I guess, Brady Connolly, if I am correct, about the Master Management Consulting question being, well, the main part being if it's possible to accommodate both studies and work. There might be more people that are considering that. Is that an option?
Okay, so we have a certain number of our master's programs. You can take what's known as part-time, and I use inverted commas here because what actually happens is you join the full-time program, but you just do half of it in 1 year, and then you do the second half the following year. In other words, you do it at half speed. So for example, if you wanted to do the part-time management consultancy, you might still have to have a very flexible employer because you might have to be on campus here, you know, potentially on a Tuesday afternoon to take a module and potentially then on a Thursday morning. And those timetables will change as well. So it's not quite straightforward. So to be honest, we don't generally get a huge amount of students that would go on the part-time route. And my advice, and this is not necessarily me wearing my Smurfit hat, but just from my advice from 17 years within this kind of industry, I would always say to you, if you can do one of these programs full time, then do it. They will be more immersive. You'll get more involved. You might, you won't miss out potentially on going to field trips. You'll just be able to dedicate your time so much more to it than if you did a part-time master's, which I did over 2 years separately, and I can tell you it's a lot of hard work. So my advice is, if you can do it full-time, do it full-time. If you're considering a part-time program, then potentially look at one of the authentically part-time programs we have, project management and management online, which you can do in the evenings and remotely.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Another question is that came across, is the teaching term all year long? So such as there's no break during summer was the question. And many people were wondering about that. Yeah,
it is. It's all generally, some courses are slightly different, but yeah, it's 3 trimesters. Instead of having 2 semesters, which kind of like run from September to December, and then from January to about April, that's your kind of standard semesters. And then most students will do exams in May and then have the summer off. But because our masters are 1 year long, you do 3 trimesters. And that 3rd trimester is basically from May to August. So it's September to the following September. And the idea is that particularly over that summer semester, most of our masters will have the option to do either an internship in a company or a research project with a company. So that's kind of where you have a lot of the real world kind of connections. The idea being that obviously if you do a good job at this internship or you impress the employer, that potentially you could stay on and that could potentially turn into an actual role for you as well. So yeah, 1 year long, they are intensive, but you know, I'd nearly defer back to the students, except that you haven't had this break yet. But obviously, you know, don't forget each semester generally is about 12 weeks long. You have a reading week in the middle of it for most of them. You also then have, you know, I think is it, Yola, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 4 weeks, 5 weeks off over our Christmas break?
Christmas, yes, 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. Approximately 4 weeks. That's taking that if you have an exam towards end of December. Some students on some programs have no exams, which means they have the whole December off and most of January. So it all depends on your exam timetable, but it will be at least 4 weeks.
Yeah. And again, another break before you start your summer trimester too. So, you know, the quick answer to that is no, there's no summer holidays. It's an intensive year, but it's good. It's fun, sociable. There are breaks in it. You'll come out of it refreshed and invigorated for your new career.
Great, sounds good. Next question is about the deadline for applications. Is there a specific 1 year commencing for next year, so 2024-25? And is there a date to aim for to have the application completed? So many people upvoted this question.
Okay, right. Unpopular question then, right? Okay, so the quick answer to that question is we do not have deadlines for our programs, right? So it's not a case that we stay open until April, we close all our programs, we assess everyone, give offers then. The way that we do our admissions process is slightly different to most universities, which is that we do it on a first come, first served basis. So we've been open since the 1st of October. So we're already open, what's that, about 5, 6 weeks at this stage. We have a lot of applications in the system already. So my strong advice to you, coming from the admissions manager here, is to get your application in as soon as possible. And there's other reasons. I mean, some of the other reasons are many of you will be coming direct from your undergraduate degree, where you will have final projects, potentially theses and things like that to do, you know, now, but also for more particularly for next year and your final exams. So, you know, if you put your application in now and got an offer within the next few weeks, you can accept that offer and be really happy and comfortable knowing that you've got a place here in one of the world's best business schools. And then you can just focus on getting your final results and getting your degree. So that's an advantage to the students. So no, we don't do a deadline basis for most of our programs. There are just 1 or 2 little exceptions, but generally speaking, my advice is always get your application in. We're open now. Apply early as you can, and you know that also helps with things like accommodation, because for example, you know that you got your offer. It can also help with not waiting to the last minute if you have a visa that you need to sort out and things like this as well. So do apply early is my advice.
Okay, great, thank you. Another question from Arshita, and also more people are wondering about this. What's the difference between a master in management and a master in management consultancy? I'm taking this one because more people were wondering about it.
Yeah. Okay. Really quickly, because I suppose there's a lot of things that I would want to say about that, but I'd say we probably have about a minute. Management is designed. Our MSc in management, which if you go to our website, is designed only for non-business students. It's known as a transfer master's. So the idea is it's condensing like a 3-year BCom into a 1-year master's at Smurfit. So it's an intensive program. You study, I think it's 13 modules. There's no elective choices. You do these all. You have a sample of everything basically. So it's a very comprehensive program. You'll get really highly skilled in everything from finance to marketing to supply chains to project management. So that's kind of management. Now, if you come from a business background, you wouldn't do the management. You would either do our international management SEMS program, which is one of the top programs in the world. You would do our international business masters, or potentially strategic management, or potentially management consultancy, right? So you have a few different options. There's lots of other options too, but that's generally what people might do. Now, how management consultancy differs is, let's be honest, kind of in the clues in the name. If you want to become a consultant, maybe you come from either a different background or from a business background, management consultancy is designed so that you're more than likely going to end up working for a consultancy firm. You've seen probably some of them on the employers list I mentioned, such as EY, Accenture, Deloitte, etc. So, they are big employers of our Smurfit students. And so I hope that kind of helps give a slight difference, really. But depending on your background, you might not even be eligible for the MSc in management, but you do one of the other ones.
Okay, great. Thanks, Richard, for clarifying that. We are going through a couple more questions. Time is running short, but just want to mention for everybody that you can scroll through the questions, and actually the platform will stay open. So that's the nice thing. You can come back later and possibly even read still answers to questions. For people also watching the recording, you can still write questions as well. It still works. Again, the platform will stay open. So even the staff of UCD can come back and ask your questions. If not through the platform, they can gather them, and they have your email, so they can potentially come back to you by email as well. Just wanted to state that if you're not getting your question answered right now, not to worry. We do have your questions, basically. A couple of points I see some people wondering about the GMAT. Just want to clarify, was written as well. It's not required for the master's. It's only for the MBA program. Actually, we have a session for the MBA program coming up in 2 weeks. So watch our website if you're interested to join that from the UCD MBA program. Maybe good to know about accommodation. Now, this is a whole different topic. I know it's going to be tough to answer that briefly. What can you say about that? Are bookings open in general, or is there support from the university? What can you say about that?
Yola, might I direct this question to you?
Accommodation.
Yeah, apologies. Yep, I just had to unmute myself. Accommodation, yes, we do have we have on-campus accommodation, and we also offer support searching for off-campus accommodation. By talking about support is advice, information, and also directing you to what we have here is a UCD off-campus accommodation search engine. So it's a specific website. It's called ucdaccommodation.pad.ie, and this is where accommodation specifically for students is being listed, but that's off campus. But in terms of on-campus accommodation, there is a halls of residence, one hall of residence here on our business campus in Blackrock. It's called Proby House. You can find it out if you Google Proby House UCD Smurfit School. And there's also a lot of accommodation on the main campus, which is the kind of the non-business, non-graduate students. That's where they're located. It's about 4 kilometers from Blackrock. And so, yes, and there are spaces. I don't have a specific number because it varies from year to year, but yes, there is on-campus accommodation. It hasn't opened yet, but it does open quite early, and it's a random allocation. So once you get allocated a room on campus, you can either accept it or decline it. I hope I answered the question.
Okay. From me, yes, but I hope for the rest as well. Let's take that as a yes. We get thumbs up, so that's good. Let's see. We have couple of questions we can take. Maybe I can mention a deadline to IELTS. Some people were wondering about. So it was also given that you can make your application without having the IELTS test done. So you can start it. Then you will need to have it done.
Actually, Luke, can I just jump in and actually just clarify? I think that's a really important thing with regards to our application. I think a lot of people can, for other schools, think that you have to have everything that you need before you apply. All right. So just to be really clear, that's not necessarily the case. So, for example, if you're in your final year of studies right now, let's say you've done 3 years of a 4-year degree, but you have your final year still to go. You still don't know your final overall grade, okay? that's okay. You can still apply now. You don't need to wait till you get your final result, because what we'll do is we'll look at, say, your average scores, the modules that are more relevant to this particular master's, and we can get a clear picture as the kind of quality of academics that you have. The second thing here as well is regards to English language. I think that's a big misunderstanding, or maybe apologies, not misunderstanding, but not communicated well enough from us, which is that you don't need to have your English language test taken before you apply. So you can actually apply without your final score of your degree and without your English language score, but include all the transcripts that you've got. If you haven't taken an English language test, then maybe say roughly when you're thinking of doing it. And what we do then is we make you a conditional offer, and the condition is based on you achieving a final score of a certain grade that's most likely within reach of what you are going to be on. And potentially, if it's applicable to you, also of achieving your English language score or taking an English language test. Now, the English language test is not directly, does not come into our decision as to whether we offer you a place or not on the school. So the English language test is just a thing that you have to do to get to come to Smurfit. That's sort of separate, but we award you your place here based on all the other things, right? So I hope that kind of clears things up. So again, when I tell people now, and one of the key takeaways from today will be to apply as early as you can, is that you don't need to wait to have your final scores in either English language or your degree. Get your application in as soon as you can. And again, just to stress that the GMAT test is not needed for us, except for the MBA program. There can be some circumstances where we might make you an offer, say, for example, our finance programs, whereas we ask you maybe to achieve a GMAT score of a certain score as well as part of the condition, but that's very rare. So no to GMATs. And again, it's actually quite a straightforward process to apply. Really simple. Up on the website, €60. Yeah, references, CV, transcripts. That's pretty much it. 2 essay questions as well. So fairly straightforward.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that. I think that's very useful. Appreciate it, Richard. And we're going to get to the last questions for today. I'm taking one from Shita because it was also asked by more people. Being from a tech background, what support can we get from Smurfit in searching for a job in more business management related fields? So I think there was talked about the career support. Can you say something about this?
Sorry, Luke, could you just say that again? I'll just cut it.
Yeah, sure.
To do career in what section?
So the person in question was from a tech background, and to get support for applying in more of a business or management related field.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a number of different courses there. Like I said, the MSc in management could be the one that be more applicable to you if you come from a very tech background. But there's also a really interesting one that we have called Digital Innovation Program. And digital innovation is designed for a lot of people who come from tech. And it's basically bringing in innovation and entrepreneurship and management along with your kind of maybe tech skills, and it's looking into sort of future digital transformation of business. So it's a very interesting program. But absolutely, again, it only takes you 2 seconds to look back and say on our website to look at the top employers. You see there's a lot of different people that come from tech backgrounds that go into consulting, management, strategic management within a tech firm, or something completely different. So 100%, if you have a tech background, absolutely be very welcome.
Okay. Great, thank you. And we're getting to the last question. I just can read out a couple of answers. Internships was asked as well. Is it guaranteed? So they're not guaranteed, but there are internship options for 8 of the programs and all 6 of the finance programs. This answer was given as well. Yeah, so still there are many questions. Again, I would say do check in still on the platform, because we can still answer them afterwards when we close this session live. So there will be more answers there given as well. Let's see if there was a last question we can take that maybe is relevant for more people as well. I think the English tests were already answered. Yeah, so I think most of them are actually now have been answered, what I see. Yeah, so maybe are the masters also good for people with business backgrounds? So the opposite. We just talked about the tech background being good for the business. How about the opposite?
Yeah. Yes is the quick answer. Again, it's a well-worn path of people from business. As I mentioned, just over 40% of our students come from pure business backgrounds like BComs and management programs, undergrads. So yeah, that's obviously 100%. You're in good form there. So again, I think the key thing the students even touched on today, which was regards to the diversity, and one thing that we try to look for in the classroom is diversity. So everything from nationalities to different backgrounds. So we want people who have business backgrounds, but people have tech backgrounds. Even, for example, medicine and nursing, there's quite a few of those in our programs. So again, the idea is that everyone can kind of bring something different to group work and teamwork and learn a bit from each other. It's also quite reflective of what happens when you go to work for a large multinational company. You will have people from lots of different backgrounds and nationalities too. So I hope that helps, Luke.
All right, that does. And thank you very much, Richard, for your answers, and for all of you, all of the panelists, the students as well. Thank you all for your answers and your explanations. I'm sure that was very useful to the audience. As mentioned, there are still some questions unanswered. I fully realize that. The UCD staff has your questions, so they can still come back to you. If not through the platform, they can come back to you possibly by email as well. And what I also like to share lastly is a link to the admissions, so the admissions website. There you can basically find more information. So click on that, you will be directed to the website of UCD, and you can find more information. And I think you can apply there as well, if I'm not mistaken. So go there and check it out at your own pace after this. We hope that this session was giving you insights into general points of the programs. I certainly think it did, from especially the students. Very useful to hear from all of you. Thank you very much, Tobias and Tim, also for providing your LinkedIn. I saw in the chat, so people can reach out to you. I saw also Tree. Thank you very much, and Claire. It's very much appreciated, and of course, last but not least, Yola and Richard. Thank you all. And with that, we close off today's session. Last poll is coming up because we want to know how we did. Give us your feedback, and it's going to jump on right there on the screen. Let us know if you're satisfied, or if there's anything we can improve. Feel free to let us know through the chat, of course. So with that, I will really wrap up this session, and we hope we did a good job. Let's see. So far, we do get good answers. Great. I'm delighted already. Well, from my side, bye-bye, everyone. And thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
See you in Dublin.
Bye.
Thank you.